The transport ship shuddered as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. General Isaac Bauer gripped the railing, his jaw tight. Around him, dozens of officers and soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, checking displays and relaying information. Nobody spoke loudly. The silence felt heavy, like everyone knew what waited ahead. "We're approaching Dustfall Station, sir," Lieutenant Rivers said from her console. Her voice wavered slightly. No response to our hails. Bauer nodded slowly. He had commanded soldiers for 30 years, fought in wars that tore Earth apart before humanity finally united. He thought he had seen every kind of horror war could produce. The distress signal from Dustfall suggested he was wrong. "Take us in slow," he ordered. "Full tactical scan. I want to know if anything bigger than a coffee cup is floating out there." The view screen flickered to life, showing Dustfall Station growing larger as they approached. The mining colony had been home to 40,000 people. Families, workers, teachers, doctors, people just trying to build lives on the edge of known space. The station rotated slowly against the darkness, its lights still on in some sections. From a distance, it almost looked normal. "Sir, I'm picking up debris," Rivers said. "Lots of it. Hull fragments, escape pods, personal items. Life signs." Bauer already knew the answer. "Negative, sir. Nothing." Captain Wren Holt entered the bridge, his boots echoing on the metal floor. He had been Bauer's second-in-command for 5 years, a former special operations officer who never wasted words. The two men had fought side by side in the Unification Wars, back when Earth was divided and humans killed each other over borders and beliefs. "Boarding teams are ready," Holt said, "though I'm not sure what we'll find worth boarding for." "We'll find answers," Bauer replied. "And bodies. Those people deserve to go home." The transport docked with Dustfall's main airlock. Bauer led the first team himself, despite Holt's protests. As general of the Human Expeditionary Fleet, he could have stayed on the ship and read reports. But Bauer believed in seeing things firsthand. Soldiers respected leaders who shared their burdens. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The smell hit them immediately. Even through helmets and filters, they could detect it. Death had a specific scent, one that no technology could completely block. The main corridor stretched ahead, lights flickering. Blood stained the walls in long streaks. Bodies lay scattered like discarded toys. Men, women, children. The attackers had not discriminated. Dr. Leah Grant moved between the dead, scanning each one with her medical equipment. Her hands shook, but her voice remained steady as she recorded findings. Weapons fire, energy burns, blunt force trauma. Some of these people were tortured before they died. Bauer forced himself to look at each face. An old man clutching a photograph. A woman who had tried to shield 2 small children with her body. A teenager still holding a wrench, having tried to fight back. These were not soldiers. They were civilians who had trusted the Galactic Council's promise of protection. "General, you need to see this," Holt called from further down the corridor. Bauer found him standing before a large wall. Words had been carved into the metal, deep gouges that must have taken time and effort. The message was simple and brutal. "This is the price of weakness. The Ravagers take what we want. The Council cannot stop us. No one can. They wanted people to find this," Holt said quietly. "They wanted to send a message. They succeeded," Bauer replied. His voice was cold now, emotions locked away behind professional discipline. "Document everything. I want records of every body, every wound, every piece of evidence. The Council is going to see exactly what their peace looks like." Over the next 4 hours, the boarding teams moved through Dustfall Station. They found storage areas where people had tried to hide. The Ravagers had burned them out. They found the medical center, where doctors and nurses had been killed while trying to treat the wounded. They found the school, where small desks sat empty and children's drawings still hung on walls. Admiral Yuri Petrov's voice crackled over the communication channel. "General, I have the fleet assembled. We're receiving priority messages from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Trell demands we report our findings and await further instructions before taking any action." Bauer stood in what had been Dustfall's central plaza, a gathering place where colonists had celebrated holidays and held community meetings. Bodies lay in heaps here. The Ravagers had gathered survivors and executed them en masse. Tell Ambassador Trell that humanity joined the Galactic Council seeking cooperation and peace, Bowers said slowly. Tell him we followed their rules, respected their treaties, and trusted their promises of security. He paused, looking at the carnage around him. Then tell him that 40,000 humans are dead because the Council treats monsters as a manageable problem. Tell him we gave diplomacy a chance. We gave patience a chance. We gave mercy a chance. His voice hardened. Now we're done giving. Now we take. Sir, they'll accuse us of violating protocols, Petrov warned. Let them. Plot a course for the Shattered Belt. The Ravagers have a stronghold there, correct? Yes, sir. It's heavily defended. The Council has negotiated with them for decades, paying them to leave certain areas alone. How diplomatic, Bowers said bitterly. Paying tribute to pirates while innocent people die. That ends today. General, you realize this could mean war with the Council itself, Holt said. Bauer looked at his old friend, then at Dr. Grant, who was carefully covering a child's body with a sheet. He thought about Earth, about humanity's long, bloody history of fighting each other before finally learning to stand together. They had joined the galactic community, hoping to leave that violence behind. Instead, they found violence on an even larger scale, just hidden behind prettier words. We didn't start this war, Bauer said. The Ravagers did when they murdered our people. The Council started it when they let it happen. We're just going to finish it. He activated the fleet-wide channel. Every ship, every soldier, every sailor heard his next words. This is General Bauer. Set course for the Shattered Belt. Battle speed. No warnings. No negotiations. The age of mercy is over. The age of consequences has begun. Darkness surrounded the human fleet as it moved through deep space. Admiral Yuri Petrov watched his tactical display, where 80 warships appeared as small blue dots. Behind them, supply vessels and medical ships followed at a safe distance. Ahead lay the Shattered Belt, an asteroid field so dense that most species avoided it entirely. Perfect territory for pirates and murderers to hide. Emerging from dark space in 30 seconds, the navigation officer announced. Petrov had commanded fleets before, back during Earth's corporate wars when megacorporations had private armies. He understood strategy and tactics. But this felt different. They were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting because someone had to, and the Galactic Council refused to do it. Reality snapped back into focus as the ships dropped from faster-than-light travel. The Shattered Belt filled their view screens, thousands of asteroids tumbling through space. Hidden among those rocks were the Ravager bases, built over decades of raiding and murdering. Contacts, the sensor officer called out. Multiple vessels breaking from cover. I count 200 ships, various sizes. On the main screen, Ravager vessels emerged like insects from a disturbed nest. They were ugly ships, built from stolen parts and salvaged wreckage. Some had weapons bolted directly onto hulls. Others looked barely space-worthy. But there were many of them, and they had the advantage of knowing this terrain. They're trying to scatter, Petrov observed. They think we'll chase individual targets and get separated. Should we pursue, sir? His tactical officer asked. No. General Bauer gave specific orders. We're not here to chase. We're here to erase. The human fleet maintained formation, moving deeper into the asteroid field with careful precision. Their weapons locked onto Ravager vessels, but did not fire yet. Let the pirates wonder. Let them worry that a communication channel opened, audio only. A rough voice spoke in broken galactic common, the trade language most species used. Human ships. This is Warlord Gresh. You make mistake coming here. We are many. We are strong. We negotiate. We give you prisoners, give you treasure. You leave in peace. Petrov glanced at General Bauer, who stood nearby with Captain Holt. Bauer's expression had not changed since Dustfall Station. Cold, focused, dangerous. Patch me through, Bauer said. The communication link opened. Bauer spoke clearly, each word deliberate. Warlord Gresh. This is General Isaac Bauer of the Human Expeditionary Fleet. We are not here to negotiate. We are not here for prisoners or treasure. We are here because you murdered 40,000 civilians. We are here to remove you from existence. Silence followed. Then Gresh laughed, a wet, ugly sound. You think you scare us? The Council sends diplomats. The Council pays tribute. Why should we fear you? Because we're not the Council, Bauer replied. Because we don't negotiate with slavers. We erase them. You have 10 minutes to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Anyone who resists will be destroyed. Anyone who surrenders will face trial. Choose now. The channel closed. Petrov counted silently, watching the tactical display. 8 minutes passed. Then Ravager ships began firing. All vessels, weapons free, Bauer ordered. Target priority vessels first. Drive them toward the core of the belt. The battle began with coordinated precision. Human ships moved in groups, covering each other's approaches. Railguns fired, sending solid projectiles through space at incredible speeds. Missiles launched in waves, their engines burning bright. Energy weapons carved through Ravager hulls. The pirates fought back, but they had never faced organized military force before. They were used to attacking unarmed merchants and fleeing when real warships appeared. They knew how to ambush and raid. They did not know how to fight a fleet that actually wanted them dead. Captain Hull commanded one of the assault carriers, leading boarding teams that captured disabled Ravager vessels. His soldiers moved through the pirate ships, securing prisoners and searching for evidence. What they found made their blood run cold. General, you need to see this, Hull transmitted. His video feed showed a large cargo hold filled with cages. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species huddled inside, wearing rags and chains. Some looked human. Others had scales, feathers, or fur. All shared the same hollow, traumatized expression. Dr. Grant's team immediately deployed to the captured ships, providing medical care to the freed captives. She moved from cage to cage, her medical scanner working constantly. Many of the prisoners were malnourished. Some had injuries that had never been properly treated. All of them flinched when humans approached, expecting more pain. One small being approached Grant cautiously. It stood barely 3 feet tall, with gray skin and large dark eyes. The species was called the Gentle Folk, known throughout the galaxy for their peaceful nature and artistic skills. Please, it whispered in halting galactic common. Please not hurt. We work. We obey. Grant knelt down slowly, keeping her movements gentle. We're not going to hurt you. We're here to help. What's your name? Pip, the small being said. I am Pip. Was artist. Ravagers took my colony 3 years ago. Council knew. Council did nothing. Grant felt ice in her stomach. What do you mean the Council knew? Pip looked at her with ancient eyes and a young face. Council pays Ravagers sometimes. To remove populations they not want. To clear space for other species. To disappear people who cause problems. Everyone in cages knows this. We are the disappeared. The revelations spread through the human fleet like wildfire. The freed prisoners told the same story over and over. The Galactic Council used the Ravagers as proxies, letting them terrorize the galaxy while occasionally directing their violence towards specific targets. The Council maintained their image of peace while outsourcing their dirty work to pirates. Bauer stood in his command center, reviewing the testimonies. Captain Holt joined him, still wearing his combat armor. It's worse than we thought, Holt said quietly. This isn't just negligence. It's conspiracy. It's systematic oppression disguised as peace, Bauer replied. The Council doesn't maintain order. They maintain control. There's a difference. Admiral Petrov brought up a star chart. Sir, we've eliminated 80% of the Ravager forces here. The survivors are trying to flee. Do we pursue? Bauer looked at the map, then at the video feeds showing freed prisoners receiving food and medical care. Some were crying. Others just stared, unable to believe they were actually safe. No, he decided. Let some escape. Let them spread the word about what happens when you cross humanity. We have a more important target. Sir, Petrov asked. The Council knew about these slave operations. They knew about the ethnic cleansing. They did nothing because it served their interests. Bauer's voice was hard as steel. We're going to make sure the whole galaxy knows what their precious piece actually costs. He opened a channel to Dr. Grant. I need complete documentation of everything we found here. Medical records, testimonies, evidence of council involvement. We're going to show the galaxy what kind of monsters they've been taking orders from. Already working on it, General, Grant replied. And sir, the freed prisoners are asking to join us. They want to fight. Bauer considered this. An army of former victims, seeking justice against their oppressors. It was dangerous. It was also exactly what this movement needed. Accept volunteers, he decided, but make it clear what they're signing up for. This will get worse before it gets better. The shattered belt burned behind them as the fleet prepared to move on. The Grand Assembly Chamber on New Harmony Station could hold representatives from 500 species. Today, every seat was filled. Holographic displays showed delegates from across the galaxy, their forms flickering slightly as transmissions crossed vast distances. The air recyclers worked overtime, attempting to manage the various atmospheric requirements of different species. Ambassador Trell stood at the central podium, his insectoid body rigid with barely controlled anger. His species, the Hive Collective, had been members of the Galactic Council for 3,000 years. They considered themselves the architects of galactic civilization. This assembly convenes to address humanity's unprecedented aggression, Trell announced, his mandibles clicking between words. General Isaac Bauer has committed acts of war without authorization. He has attacked council-recognized territories. He has violated every treaty humanity signed when joining our community. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some species nodded agreement. Others remained silent, their expressions unreadable. On Earth, President Amara Singh watched the proceedings from her office in Geneva. She had not slept in 3 days. Her cabinet was divided. The military supported Bauer. The diplomatic corps demanded his immediate recall. The public was screaming for action. Her communication officer entered quietly. Madam President, General Bauer's evidence package has finished uploading to the planetary network. It's spreading faster than we could track. Singh pulled up her personal display and began reviewing the files. Medical records from freed slaves. Testimony from prisoners. Financial transactions showing council payments to Ravager clans. Communication intercepts proving the council knew about the operations and approved them. Release it, she decided. All of it. Public domain. Let every human see exactly what kind of organization we joined. Within minutes, the evidence flooded across Earth's networks. People watched video testimony from survivors. They saw children who had been sold into slavery. They read documents showing council officials discussing ethnic cleansing like it was routine administrative work. The public reaction was immediate and volcanic. Protests erupted in every major city. People demanded action, not diplomacy. They wanted accountability, not negotiations. Singh addressed humanity through every available channel. She appeared on screens in homes, offices, and public spaces across Earth and its colonies. My fellow humans, she began, her voice steady despite exhaustion. For the past year, we have been proud members of the Galactic Council. We believed we were joining a community of civilized species dedicated to peace and mutual prosperity. Today, I must tell you the truth about what we actually joined. She displayed the evidence, piece by piece. The Council's complicity, the systematic oppression, the calculated violence hidden behind diplomatic language. General Bauer acted without my authorization, Singh continued. He violated protocols and ignored orders. But he did something else too. He showed us who we really are. When humans see injustice, we cannot look away. When we see suffering, we cannot remain passive. When we see evil, we must confront it, regardless of the cost. She paused, letting her words sink in. Therefore, effective immediately, I am withdrawing humanity from the Galactic Council. We will not be part of an organization that profits from suffering. General Bauer's actions are hereby officially sanctioned. His mission will continue with the full support of Earth and all human colonies. The Grand Assembly erupted in chaos. Ambassador Trell's mandibles clattered in fury. This is an act of war. The Council will not tolerate such defiance. But other voices rose as well. Representative Orin of the Deepwater Accord, an aquatic species known for their neutrality, requested the floor. His water-filled chamber bubbled as he spoke through translation devices. Perhaps we should ask ourselves why humanity felt compelled to act, Orin said carefully. Perhaps we should examine the evidence they present rather than simply condemning them. The evidence is irrelevant, Trell snapped. They attacked without authorization. The evidence shows we authorized attacks ourselves, Orin replied quietly. Just indirectly, through proxies. Are we angry because humanity acted violently, or because they exposed our own violence? The chamber fell silent. Several species began examining the evidence that was now spreading across galactic networks. The truth was spreading faster than the Council could contain it. Meanwhile, General Bauer's fleet had moved to a new target. Intelligence suggested another Ravager operation in the Weeping Expanse, but this one was different. The facility was too organized, too well-funded. When human forces breached its defenses, they discovered why. The prison station orbited a dead moon, deliberately placed far from major shipping lanes. Its existence appeared on no official maps. Captain Holt led the assault team through its corridors, finding level after level of cells. But these prisoners were different from the slaves in the Shattered Belt. These were politicians, activists, journalists, and reformers. Species from across the galaxy who had tried to expose Council corruption or advocate for change. They just disappeared them, Holt reported to Bauer. Anyone who questioned the system too loudly ended up here. Some have been imprisoned for decades. Among the prisoners, they found Council members themselves. Representatives who had tried to reform the system from within, who had attempted to hold their colleagues accountable. The Council had quietly removed them and declared them missing or dead. Dr. Grant interviewed the freed prisoners, documenting everything. One elderly delegate from a species called the Thought Speakers had been imprisoned for 15 years. Her crime was proposing a bill to audit Council finances. They told my people I died in a shuttle accident, she explained, her voice hoarse from disuse. My family mourned me while I rotted in this place. All because I asked where the money was going. Bauer made a decision. Broadcast everything. Every cell, every prisoner, every story. I want the whole galaxy to see what their government does to dissidents. The transmission went out on every channel. Species across the galaxy watched as the truth emerged from the shadows. Their missing loved ones were not dead. They were imprisoned by the very government that claimed to protect them. Protests exploded across Council space. Species that had supported the Council for centuries began questioning everything. The carefully maintained facade of benevolent governance crumbled in real time. Ambassador Trell issued an ultimatum, his voice shaking with rage. Humanity has 72 hours to surrender General Bauer and disarm completely. If they refuse, the Council Armada will respond with overwhelming force. We will crush this rebellion and restore order. The message reached Bauer aboard his flagship. Captain Holt stood beside him, along with Admiral Petrov and Dr. Grant. They all understood what this meant. Real war, not against pirates, but against the combined military might of the galaxy's most powerful species. Should we return to Earth? Petrov asked quietly. Regroup, prepare defenses? Bauer studied the star charts showing the approach of the Council Armada. 500 warships from dozens of species. The largest military force assembled in recorded history. Against his 80 vessels and a ragtag coalition of freed slaves flying converted civilian craft. No, he decided. We chose this path. We finish it. Send them a response. He composed a simple message and transmitted it to the entire galaxy. Come and try. High Admiral Vorn reviewed his fleet disposition and felt satisfaction. 500 warships surrounded him in perfect formation, representing the military might of 24 different species. His own vessel, the Titan Forge Absolute, was the largest battleship ever constructed. His species had been bred for war over millions of years, selected for size, strength, and tactical thinking. The human fleet is in the Vale Nebula, his tactical officer reported. 80 military vessels and approximately 120 civilian craft. They appear to be establishing defensive positions. Bourne studied the nebula on his display. The Vale was notorious for disrupting sensors and communications. Most commanders avoided it. That the humans chose to make their stand there suggested either desperation or cunning. Maintain formation, he ordered. We enter the nebula as one force. Overwhelming power applied with precision. The humans will see our strength and surrender, or they will be destroyed. Either way, this ends today. Aboard the human flagship, General Bauer gathered his senior officers. The command center hummed with quiet activity as staff members coordinated fleet movements and defensive preparations. They have us outnumbered 5-1, Admiral Petrov stated, pointing at the tactical display. 6-1 if you only count military vessels. They have superior firepower, better armor, and more experienced crews in void combat. Which is exactly why we're going to win, Bauer replied. Captain Holt raised an eyebrow. Care to explain that logic, sir? Bauer zoomed in on the nebula map. Vorn is thinking like every military commander in history who had superior numbers. He expects to roll over us through sheer force. He's counting on us to fight a traditional engagement where his advantages matter. We're not fighting a traditional engagement, Holt realized. Exactly. The nebula scrambles sensors. They can't coordinate as effectively as they're used to. Their numerical advantage becomes a liability if they can't see each other or us. We've been here for 2 days preparing the battlefield. Bauer pulled up a detailed map showing hidden weapon platforms, drone nests, and minefields positioned throughout the nebula. We've turned this entire region into a trap. They'll enter expecting to find us cowering and defensive. Instead, they'll find themselves in a killing field where we control every engagement. The Council Armada entered the Vale Nebula in a massive wedge formation. Vorn commanded from the center, his fleet arranged in 3 distinct battle groups. The plan was simple and proven. Advance steadily, maintain formation, crush any resistance with coordinated firepower. Within 10 minutes, everything went wrong. Human ships appeared from the nebula clouds like ghosts, fired weapons, and vanished before the Council could respond. Missiles emerged from hidden platforms, striking Council vessels before anyone knew they were there. Drone swarms swarmed from concealed nests, overwhelming point defense systems. Contact, left flank, someone shouted on the Titan Forge Absolute. No, right flank. Multiple contacts, vectors changing rapidly. The Council formation began to fracture as different groups responded to threats in different directions. Ships that tried to maintain formation found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Ships that broke formation to engage enemies collided with each other in the sensor-distorting fog. Captain Holt commanded a small squadron of fast attack ships, darting in and out of the nebula clouds. His vessels were smaller and more maneuvered than Council battleships. They struck weak points, disabled engines, and vanished before retaliation could arrive. This is like hunting big game, his pilot commented. Stay mobile, strike vulnerable areas, never let them pin you down. The converted civilian vessels played their role perfectly. Armed with missiles and loaded with electronic warfare equipment, they acted as decoys and confusion. Council ships locked onto them, only to discover they were attacking what looked like freighters but moved like warships. Admiral Petrov coordinated the chaos from a command ship hidden deep in the nebula. Hundreds of data streams fed him information about Council positions and movements. He directed human forces like a conductor leading an orchestra, each section playing its part in a larger composition. Battle Group 2 is breaking formation, he reported to Bauer. They're pursuing what they think is our main fleet. Send them into the minefield, Bauer ordered. Then have Group 3 hit them from behind. The trap closed perfectly. Council ships raced after human vessels, only to run into fields of magnetic mines that clung to their hulls and detonated simultaneously. Before they could recover, human ships struck from unexpected directions, targeting damaged vessels and creating more chaos. High Admiral Vorn realized his mistake too late. His superior numbers meant nothing when his ships could not coordinate. His heavy armor was useless against precision strikes to engines and weapon systems. His experienced crews had never fought an enemy that refused to engage in proper military fashion. "Order all groups to withdraw and regroup," he commanded. "We need to establish a coherent formation." "Sir, the human ships are blocking retreat routes," his tactical officer reported. "They've positioned themselves to prevent our withdrawal." Vorn felt something he had not experienced in decades of military service. Fear, not for himself, but for his fleet. The humans had not just prepared a battlefield. They had prepared a killing ground, and his entire armada was trapped inside it. The battle raged for 6 hours. Council ships fought with courage and determination, but they fought a battle they could not win. Every advantage they possessed became a disadvantage in the nebula. Their size made them easier targets. Their numbers caused friendly fire incidents. Their coordination failed in the sensor-distorting environment. Human casualties were not light. 18 military vessels were destroyed, and 34 civilian craft were lost. But the Council Armada suffered catastrophic losses. Over 300 ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest scattered in disorganized retreat. Vorn's flagship took critical damage. Human boarding teams breached the hull. The High Admiral fought personally, his massive form towering over human soldiers. He killed 3 before Captain Holt stunned him with a plasma rifle, but Vorn refused capture. With his last strength, he triggered his flagship's self-destruct. The Titan Forge Absolute exploded in a brilliant flash, taking its commander and crew with it. Bauer watched the battles end from his command center. The impossible had happened. A small human fleet had defeated the greatest military force the galaxy had ever assembled. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from the remaining Council ships," Petrov reported. "What are your orders?" Bauer thought about Dustfall Station, about the slaves in cages, about the political prisoners who disappeared, about every atrocity the Council had enabled or ignored. "Accept surrenders. Take prisoners. Treat them according to military law." He paused and broadcast everything. The galaxy needs to see that the Council's military might was built on fear, not strength. When someone finally stood up to them, they fell. Dr. Grant appeared on a communication screen. "General, survivors from the Council ships are saying the leadership has fled New Harmony Station. Intelligence suggests they've gone to a hidden fortress world." Bauer felt no satisfaction in the victory, only grim determination. "Then that's where we go next," he decided. "This ends where it started, with accountability." Sanctuary Prime appeared on the view screens like a jewel floating in space. Crystal blue oceans, emerald forests, cities that looked more like works of art than practical structures. This was the secret world where the Galactic Council's true leadership had hidden themselves for centuries. General Bauer studied the planet from orbit. His fleet was smaller now, battered from the battle in the Veil Nebula. But they were still functional, and more importantly, they were determined. "Orbital defenses are formidable," Admiral Petrov reported. "Automated weapon platforms, shield generators, and energy barriers. They've had centuries to fortify this place. They built a paradise with blood money," Captain Holt observed. "While people across the galaxy suffered, they lived here in luxury." Dr. Grant reviewed intelligence reports. "According to the records we captured, the actual council members we see at the Grand Assembly are just administrators. The real power structure is down there. Families who have controlled galactic policy for thousands of years." Bauer considered the tactical situation. Sanctuary Prime's defenses were designed to repel large fleets. Overwhelming force would fail here, but the defenses assumed attackers would come from space. "Prepare drop teams," he ordered. "We're going to the surface." Human assault carriers descended through Sanctuary Prime's atmosphere, their hulls glowing from friction. Point defense systems opened fire, but the ships used evasive maneuvers and countermeasures to survive. Not all made it through. 7 carriers were destroyed before reaching the surface. Captain Holt commanded the ground assault from the lead carrier. As the ramp dropped, he saw paradise up close. Perfectly maintained gardens, architectural wonders that seemed to defy physics. And running toward them, elite guard units that had never fought a real battle in their lives. The guards wore ornate armor and carried expensive weapons. They looked impressive. They fought poorly. Most surrendered within minutes once they realized the humans were serious about killing anyone who resisted. Holt's teams advanced through the city, meeting light resistance. Many of the Council's security forces simply fled. They had spent generations guarding people who never faced real threats. They had no experience with actual combat. The deeper they went, the more obscene the wealth became. Buildings made from rare crystals. Gardens featuring plants from extinct worlds. Art collections worth more than some planetary economies. All built while species across the galaxy struggled with poverty, disease, and violence. They didn't just ignore suffering, one of Holt's soldiers said quietly. They profited from it. The Council leadership had retreated to an underground bunker complex beneath the central palace. Holt's team breached the entrance after a brief firefight. Inside, they found corridors lined with precious metals and historical artifacts. At the deepest level, they discovered a massive chamber. 12 beings sat at a circular table, representing 12 ancient bloodlines that had controlled the Galactic Council since its founding. These were not the ambassadors and representatives the galaxy knew. These were the true rulers, the oligarchs who had hidden behind bureaucracy while shaping galactic policy. General Bauer entered the chamber, his combat armor scorched and damaged. Behind him came Captain Holt, Admiral Petrov, and Dr. Grant. Outside, human soldiers secured the complex point. One of the council members, a being whose species Bauer did not immediately recognize, spoke first. General Bauer, we expected you would eventually reach us. Please sit. Let's discuss terms. Bauer remained standing. There are no terms. You're under arrest for crimes against sentient beings. The council member smiled, a disturbing expression on its alien features. You misunderstand the situation. We are the council. We have maintained galactic stability for 5,000 years. The systems we created, the policies we implemented, they work. There is peace. Peace, Bauer repeated. You call it peace when you pay pirates to murder colonists? When you disappear political opponents? When you profit from slavery? Another council member spoke, this one from a species with multiple eyes. You think in such simple terms. Good and evil, right and wrong. We think in terms of stability and chaos. Sometimes people must suffer so that civilization can continue. Whose civilization? Dr. Grant demanded. Yours? You built luxury on the backs of dead children. The council members showed no shame. They genuinely believed they had done nothing wrong. Their perspective was one of cold calculation, where individual lives meant nothing compared to maintaining their version of order. We can offer you a place at this table, the first council member said to Bauer. Join us. Help us rebuild the system with humanity's input. You've proven humans are formidable. Imagine what we could accomplish together. For a moment, Bauer was tempted, not by the offer, but by the simplicity of simply executing them all right there. It would be quick. It would be final. It would be justice, but it would also make him no different from them. Captain Holt, Bauer said quietly, place them under arrest. Contact the Free Assembly. These individuals will stand trial publicly. Every species in the galaxy will see the evidence. Every victim will have a chance to testify. You cannot try us, one council member protested. We are beyond your laws. That's the problem, Bauer replied. You've always believed you were beyond consequences. Today, that changes. The arrest process took hours. Dr. Grant's team had already compiled evidence from the council's own archives. Centuries of documents proving systematic oppression, engineered conflicts, and calculated atrocities. The council had kept meticulous records, never imagining anyone would dare challenge them. As prisoners were led away, Bauer stood in the empty chamber and felt the weight of everything they had done. The lives lost, the violence necessary to reach this point. The knowledge that even now, victory felt hollow. Admiral Petrov joined him. The freed prisoners and allied species are establishing a provisional government. They're calling it the Free Assembly. Representative Oren from the Deepwater Accord is helping organize it. Will it work? Bauer asked. I don't know, Petrov admitted. Democracy is messy. It's slow. It requires compromise and patience. Everything the old council wasn't. But it's voluntary, Bauer said. No one is forced to participate. No one profits from others' suffering. That's something. Captain Holt reported that all council members were secured and ready for transport. The galaxy would watch as its former rulers faced justice. Some would celebrate. Others would resist. Many would struggle to accept that the old order was truly gone. 6 months later, the trials began. Every species sent observers. The proceedings were broadcast across all known space. The council members faced their victims, heard testimony, saw evidence of their crimes. They showed no remorse. Even at the end, they believed they had been right. The verdicts varied. Some council members received life imprisonment. Others were exiled to remote worlds. None were executed, despite calls for harsher punishment. The Free Assembly wanted to prove they were different from the old council. Justice, not vengeance. General Bauer attended the trials as a witness, not a judge. He testified about Dustfall Station, about the freed slaves, about the political prisoners. Then he returned to a quiet colony world and tried to find peace. His war was over. The hard work of building something better was just beginning. Rain fell on the memorial garden where General Isaac Bauer planted flowers. 1 year had passed since Sanctuary Prime fell. 1 year since the old Galactic Council dissolved. 1 year since the galaxy tried to build something new. Bauer knelt in the soil, his hands dirty from honest work. After decades of commanding soldiers and making life-or-death decisions, he found peace in simple tasks. The colony world of Haven's Rest had accepted him without ceremony or judgment. Here, he was just another resident trying to grow vegetables and forget the nightmares that a transport shuttle descended nearby. Bauer did not look up. Visitors came occasionally, usually journalists wanting interviews he refused to give or historians documenting events he wanted to forget. You're hard to find, a familiar voice said. Bauer turned to see Captain Wren Holt standing at the garden's edge. His old friend looked tired but healthy, wearing civilian clothes instead of military uniform. That's intentional, Bauer replied. What brings you here? Problems, Holt admitted, the kind that require your expertise. Bauer stood slowly, his joints protesting. Combat and age had taken their toll. I'm retired. The Free Assembly has plenty of capable people. Not like you. Holt pulled up a holographic display showing scattered reports. Former council loyalists are organizing. Species who benefited from the old system want it back. They're conducting attacks, sabotaging infrastructure, assassinating reformist leaders. Terrorists always emerge after regime change, Bauer said. It's expected. Let the Free Assembly's security forces handle it. They're trying, but these aren't random attacks. Someone is coordinating them, funding them, giving them intelligence. Holt showed more data. The Free Assembly is struggling, Isaac. Democracy is messy. Making decisions takes time. Getting consensus from hundreds of species is nearly impossible. Some people are starting to think the old council's efficiency was worth the cost. Bauer returned to his flowers. I didn't fight a war to become a dictator, Wren. I fought so people could choose their own government, even if they choose poorly. I know, but they need guidance. Not orders. Guidance. From a man who bombed their stations and killed their soldiers. Holt sat on a garden bench. From a man who stood up when everyone else stayed sitting. From a man who proved that change is possible. Before Bauer could respond, Dr. Leah Grant arrived. She ran a memorial foundation now, documenting victims and ensuring history remembered what had happened. She looked exhausted. Pip is dead, she said quietly. The words hit Bauer like a physical blow. Pip, the small gentlefolk survivor who had been among the first freed slaves. The being whose testimony had helped expose the council's complicity. How? Bauer asked. Terrorist attack on a Free Assembly gathering, Grant explained. He was speaking about reconciliation and moving forward. Someone detonated a bomb. 12 dead, 40 wounded. Pip threw himself over a group of children. Saved 6 of them. Died doing it. Bauer felt cold rage building. Pip had survived years of slavery, torture, and degradation. He had found freedom and used it to advocate for peace. And someone had killed him for it. Who claimed responsibility? He asked. Restoration Front, Holt said. Former council species who want the old system back. They call Pip a traitor for supporting the free assembly. Bauer walked to the edge of his garden, staring at the horizon. Pip's words echoed in his memory. The small being asking for help, flinching at every touch, slowly learning to trust again, growing brave enough to testify, finding courage to speak for peace. I'm still retired, Bauer said finally, but I can consult. Advisory role only. No command authority. That's all we're asking, Holt replied. The Free Assembly had established its capital on New Harmony Station, the same place where the old council had ruled. They had renovated it, removing symbols of the old regime and replacing them with monuments to freedom. The process was ongoing and imperfect. Captain Holt now served as humanity's primary representative, navigating the complex politics of hundreds of species trying to govern together. He had discovered that winning battles was simpler than winning debates. Every decision requires consensus from multiple committees, he complained during a briefing. It took 3 weeks to approve emergency food aid for a famine. 3 weeks. The old council could have decided in 3 minutes. The old council would have let them starve if it served their interests, Bauer reminded him. Slow decisions made with consent are better than fast decisions made by tyrants. Admiral Yuri Petrov commanded Earth's defense fleet, protecting human space from the Restoration Front attacks. The terrorists targeted human colonies most frequently, blaming humanity for destroying their comfortable system. They keep hitting civilian targets, Petrov reported. They want us to overreact, to become the monsters they claim we are. Then we don't give them that satisfaction, Bauer decided. We protect civilians, we catch terrorists, and we bring them to trial. Boring, legal, proper. Exactly what they don't want. Over the following months, Bauer worked quietly behind the scenes. He did not give speeches or appear in public. Instead, he helped coordinate security operations, advised on counterterrorism strategy, and taught Free Assembly forces how to fight insurgents without becoming oppressors themselves. The work was frustrating and slow. Democracy was inefficient by design. Getting hundreds of species to agree on anything took forever. But gradually, progress happened. The Restoration Front lost support as people saw the Free Assembly actually working to solve problems. Species that had been skeptical gave the new system a chance. The freed slaves and former political prisoners who had suffered under the old council became the strongest advocates for the new one. Bauer attended Pip's memorial service on the small being's homeworld. Thousands came to honor the tiny artist who had survived hell and died protecting children. Bauer stood in the back, watching gentlefolk lay flowers and share memories. The young gentlefolk approached him nervously. You are General Bauer? I'm just Bauer now, he replied. Pip spoke of you, said you freed him, said humans were the first species to help without wanting something in return. The young being paused. He wanted to thank you for teaching him that kindness still existed. Bauer felt his throat tighten. I didn't save him. Not really. He saved himself. He chose hope over hate. That's harder than anything I did. Will the Free Assembly survive? The young gentlefolk asked. Will we stay free? Bauer looked around at the memorial, at beings from dozens of species mourning together, supporting each other. I don't know. Freedom is fragile. It requires constant work, constant vigilance. The moment you stop fighting for it, someone will try to take it away. Then we will fight, the young being said simply. Like Pip did, like you did. Years passed. The Free Assembly matured. Some species left, others joined. The system evolved. Problems remained. Corruption happened. Mistakes were made. But power was distributed. People could speak freely. Justice existed for everyone, not just the powerful. Bauer eventually returned to his garden permanently. He grew old planting flowers and vegetables. Occasionally, former soldiers visited. Sometimes, freed slaves stopped by to thank him. He always invited them to help with the weeding. On quiet evenings, he stood at the memorial he built in his garden. Simple stones, each carved with a name from Dustfall Station. 40,000 names. 40,000 reasons why mercy alone was never enough. Sometimes you had to fight. Sometimes consequences were the only language evil understood. But you fought so others wouldn't have to. You brought consequences so others could live in peace. That was the difference.